All right, folks, buckle up, because we're diving deep into one of the most consequential leaks in American history, the Pentagon Papers. This isn't just a story, it's a revelation that shook the very foundations of trust in the government. This wasn't just some intern spilling coffee on a sensitive memo. No, this was a deliberate act of courage and defiance. This was a massive expose, a treasure trove of 7,000 pages detailing the US government's dirty laundry in the Vietnam War. Imagine the shockwaves it sent through the nation. These weren't your everyday memos either. They were top-secret documents meant to be hidden from the public eye. They revealed the real story, the one the public wasn't supposed to see, the truth behind the government's actions and decisions, the lies, the deceptions, the escalation of a war many believed was unwinnable. It was a betrayal of public trust on an unprecedented scale. And it all started with a former military analyst named Daniel Ellsberg, a man who risked everything to bring the truth to light. These papers were like finding out your parents had been telling you about the tooth fairy all these years, a harsh awakening to the reality behind the facade. Shocking, disillusioning, and honestly a little bit infuriating. It made people question everything they thought they knew. But here's the kicker. They almost ended up as shredded cheese, thanks to one major oversight. A twist that could have changed history. Stay tuned, because you won't believe who forgot to hit the on button. This is a story of near misses and incredible bravery. Daniel Ellsberg. Remember that name? He's basically the patron saint of whistleblowers. In the late 60s, this guy had a front row seat to the Vietnam War, both literally and figuratively. He was a military analyst, a former Marine, a guy who believed in his country. But then he saw those Pentagon Papers, and let me tell you, they changed everything. He realized the government had been lying, manipulating, and leading the country down a path of destruction. Talk about a crisis of conscience. Ellsberg knew he had to act. He couldn't stand by and watch as more lives were lost for a lost cause. So he made a decision, a risky, life-altering decision. He decided to leak the Pentagon Papers, and thus began one of the most significant showdowns between the government and the press in US history. Now let's talk about the fallout, shall we? Because when President Nixon caught wind of the leaked Pentagon Papers, let's just say he wasn't thrilled. In fact, thrilled is probably the understatement of the century. Nixon was furious. He saw red, white, and blue fury. He saw the ghost of Watergate future and decided to fight dirty. He assembled a crack team of, shall we say, problem solvers known as the plumbers. Their mission: plug the leaks, silence the dissent, and make sure nothing like this ever happened again. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. The more they tried to cover up the truth, the more the truth fought its way out. It was like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. A messy, chaotic, and ultimately futile endeavor. Section 4, to shred or not to shred, that is the question, and the answer is embarrassing. Here's where the story takes a truly absurd turn. You won't believe what happened next. Remember all those thousands of pages of top-secret documents? They were just sitting there, completely unprotected? Well, they were just sitting there, ripe for the photocopying. Anyone could have walked in and made copies. You'd think there'd be, I don't know, some shredders involved, right? Maybe a security protocol or two, a bonfire maybe, but no. There was no attempt to destroy these sensitive documents. For reasons that remain shrouded in mystery, and probably a fair bit of incompetence, the shredder remained silent. It was just sitting there, unused. It was like the one day the office intern forgot to refill the coffee machine, except instead of caffeine deprivation, we got a constitutional crisis. The stakes were much higher. This wasn't just a case of someone leaving the key in the ignition, it was far more reckless. This was leaving the engine running, the doors wide open, and a sign on the dashboard saying, "Free classified documents, take one." It was an open invitation to disaster. It was a comedy of errors, except the punchline involved the First Amendment and the future of American democracy. The consequences were no laughing matter. Section 5. The public's right to know. A win for transparency, a loss for trust. The leak of the Pentagon Papers was a pivotal moment in American history, revealing hidden truths about the Vietnam War and the government's actions. It showed that even the most powerful government in the world couldn't hide the truth forever, no matter how hard it tried. It affirmed the crucial role of a free press in holding those in power accountable, ensuring that the public remains informed. But it also came at a cost, shaking the very foundation of public trust. The leak eroded public trust in the government, fueled cynicism, and sowed seeds of doubt that linger to this day, affecting how citizens view their leaders. It raised uncomfortable questions about secrecy, accountability, and the government's relationship with its citizens, questions that are still relevant. The Pentagon Papers were a victory for transparency, but they were also a stark reminder of the lengths to which governments will go to protect their secrets, often at the expense of public trust. And sometimes those secrets are better left buried, hidden away from the public eye, or, at least shredded properly to avoid any future leaks. Section 6: Echoes of the Pentagon Papers, leaks in the digital age. Fast forward a few decades, and the Pentagon Papers might seem like ancient history, but their legacy lives on, especially in our digital age of leaks and whistleblowers. From Chelsea Manning to Edward Snowden, the fight for transparency continues, albeit on a much larger and more technologically sophisticated scale. The internet has become the new battleground, with whistleblowers using platforms like WikiLeaks to expose government secrets and spark global debate. The stakes are higher than ever, the consequences more severe. The digital age has made it easier to leak information and harder to control it. It's a double-edged sword, empowering citizens while posing new challenges for governments, grappling with the balance between security and transparency. Section 7: The Shredder's Redemption, a cautionary tale for the modern whistleblower. The Pentagon Papers weren't just about Vietnam or Nixon, or even the press. They were about the power of information and the importance of holding those in power accountable. They were a reminder that governments, like teenagers, sometimes need a little oversight and occasionally a good, hard shredding. So the next time you're tempted to toss a sensitive document in the recycling bin, remember the Pentagon Papers. Remember the shredder that never was. And then, for the love of all that is holy, find yourself a shredder and use it. Because in the age of instant information, sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply hitting the